Okay, so when you hear the name Joseph Campbell, you probably think of a wise old professor, the guy who talked about myths on PBS. I want you to just throw that image away. For this explainer, we're treating him as something way more radical and honestly, way more useful. A systems engineer. We're not here to talk about feel-good stories, we're here to talk about an actual blueprint for greatness.
Forget everything you think you know about heroes being born or greatness being some kind of cosmic lottery. We're going to dive into a much more interesting idea. What if the hero's journey isn't a story you tell, but a piece of psychological technology you can install? What if it's a code that can be understood, reverse engineered, and launched in your own life?
So, our goal today is to completely reframe Campbell's entire body of work. We're going to peel back all the comforting layers of myth and story to show you the cold, hard, operational logic underneath. We're going to see him as a psychological architect who didn't just collect old tales. He mapped the hidden patterns of human achievement. He built an engine.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the hero as an engine. Then, we'll explore how Campbell's famous time in isolation was really a strategic data-gathering mission. From there, we'll deconstruct his core operating system, the Monomyth, and then we'll look at the guidance system he built for it. After that, we'll hit the ultimate proof of concept before we show you exactly how to apply this powerful code to your own life.
All right, let's jump right into the core premise of this whole thing. Joseph Campbell wasn't just studying heroes. He was building a framework for creating them. He figured out that the real power wasn't in the thousands of different stories about gods and warriors, but in this single, repeating, underlying pattern. A psychological sequence he believed you could actually map out and activate on purpose.
So, how does someone even begin to engineer a system for the human spirit? Well, the first step wasn't taken in some comfy university library or a lecture hall. No, it was forged in 5 straight years of intense, strategic isolation, a deliberate disconnect from the world in order to find a signal hidden deep inside all the noise of human history.
You have to picture this. It's 1932. We're talking the absolute rock bottom of the Great Depression. The entire world is in a collective panic. Everyone is desperately clawing for a paycheck, any paycheck, just to find some stability. And then you have this brilliant young guy, a former track star, who intentionally steps out of the race. He goes to this tiny, unheated shack in Woodstock, New York, and survives on just $15 a month. For 5 years, his only job was to read for 9 hours a day. This wasn't unemployment. This was a calculated, strategic investment in data.
This slide really lays out the fundamental choice he made. The standard model, what pretty much everyone else does, is to react. You find a paycheck, you follow the script society gives you, and you look for approval from others. Campbell's model was completely different. He wasn't just trying to ignore the script, he was looking for the hinge, that hidden leverage point that writes all the scripts in the first place. He was building his own authority from the inside out. He was building sovereignty.
So here's the real kicker. His time in that shack was the ultimate strategic advantage. See, he understood that in a world of constant noise, focused silence is a weapon. By pulling himself out of the daily grind, he got the one thing that everyone else had traded for a paycheck: perspective. He finally had the time to process massive amounts of data, myths, religion, psychology, and detect the universal operating system for transformation that everyone else was too busy and too panicked to even see. This was the birth of the Campbell Code.
Okay, let's move on to the machine itself. After 5 years of just downloading data in total isolation, Campbell emerged with his grand unified theory, the Monomyth, which you probably know as the hero's journey. But look, if you only see this as a story structure for Hollywood, you are missing its true, staggering power. Campbell didn't see the hero's journey as some literary device. He saw it as a literal map of the human psyche under extreme stress. He called it a neurological synchronization audit, which I know is a mouthful, but it's just a complex way of saying it's a series of exact psychological states that our nervous system has to go through to achieve a deep transformation. It's not a story, it's a technology for upgrading yourself. It's like a workout plan for your soul. So the operating system kicks off with departure. The call to adventure isn't a wizard knocking on your door, it's that nagging idea for a business, or the urge to move, or the decision to finally get healthy. Then, bam, the refusal of the call. That's that little voice of fear in your head saying, nope, not ready. It's too risky. Supernatural aid is the mentor, the book, the podcast that gives you the push you need. Crossing the first threshold is the point of no return. You buy the ticket, you sign the lease, you quit the job. And the belly of the whale, that's when you're all in, fully immersed in the unknown, a symbolic death of your old comfortable self. Now this next phase, initiation,
This is the core of the whole machine. This is the abyss. The road of trials is where you fail and adapt and build new skills. It's the buggy code, the failed sales pitches, the humbling setbacks. The meeting with the goddess and woman as temptress represent mastering the powerful non-logical forces in your life: love, creativity, desire, distraction. Atonement with the father is about confronting the ultimate power structure in your life, whether that's your actual father, your boss, or your own self-doubt. You get through that and you reach apotheosis, a higher state of mind, and you gain the ultimate boon, the skill, the wisdom, the thing you were looking for all along.
But the process isn't over yet. Phase 3, the return, is absolutely critical. A lot of people who find a new level of success or insight just want to stay there. That's the refusal of the return. The magic flight back home can be tricky. You might need a rescue from without, from an old friend to pull you back to reality. And crossing the return threshold is the huge challenge of bringing your new wisdom back into your old life without everyone thinking you've gone crazy. If you succeed, you become master of two worlds, the spiritual and the everyday, the old you and the new you. And the final output of the entire system? Step 17, the freedom to live, a state where you're no longer trapped by fear of the future or the scripts of the past.
Okay, so Campbell has engineered this incredibly powerful 17-stage machine for transformation. It's an amazing map of the territory you need to cross. But how do you navigate it in your own life? You have the map, but you still need a compass. This is where the second, and maybe most misunderstood, part of his whole equation comes into play. While the rest of the world was, and still is, obsessed with finding a stable career and a safe path, Campbell just completely rejected that entire framework. For him, safety wasn't the goal. It was the absolute bare minimum. It was the floor. The only target worth aiming for, the only true north on the compass, was the ceiling, bliss. He completely reframed the purpose of a life, from a search for security to a quest for deep personal resonance.
So the crucial point is that follow your bliss was never some fluffy, feel-good slogan. It was a tactical directive. Think of fate as the pre-written, boring life scripts that society hands you. Bliss, in Campbell's system, is your biological compass. It's that deep gut feeling of being on the right track, even when it's really, really hard. It's the signal your own nervous system sends when you're aligned with your true potential. By following it, you are actively navigating away from a predetermined life and toward your own unique journey. It's the antidote to being a cog in someone else's machine.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, a powerful psychological map, a biological guidance system. But does this engineered system actually work in the real world? Can you activate this code on purpose and get a predictable result? Well, Campbell got the chance to prove it on a scale that absolutely no one could have possibly imagined.
And here's the ultimate test case. A young filmmaker named George Lucas was struggling with a script for a space fantasy. He read Campbell's work and literally used the 17-stage Monomyth as the blueprint for Star Wars. Campbell showed Lucas how to use these ancient patterns, not just for story beats, but for mythic activation, to bypass our cynical modern brains and speak directly to our deeper collective soul. I mean, think about it. Luke gets the call to adventure from a hologram, refuses it, then gets supernatural aid from Obi-Wan. He crosses the threshold into the Mos Eisley Cantina and ends up in the belly of the whale in a trash compactor. The result wasn't just a movie. It was a global phenomenon that proved the code worked.
We've seen the theory, we've seen the machine, and we've seen the global scale proof of concept. So now, let's put all these pieces together into the final actionable formula. This is how you take Campbell the engineer and apply his system directly to your own life.
You know, the power of Campbell's system isn't in how complex it is, but in how beautifully simple it is. When you deconstruct his entire life's work, from that lonely shack in Woodstock to his talks at Skywalker Ranch, the entire operational logic can be boiled down to one powerful, direct equation. And this just lays out the entire system perfectly. Part 1, comparative isolation. This doesn't mean you have to go live in a shack. It could be 30 minutes of journaling every morning or a weekend away from your routine. It's any deliberate act of disconnecting from the noise to find your own signal. Part 2, following bliss. This means listening to that signal and using your own gut feeling as a compass to navigate the trials that your isolation brings up. And the output? The sovereign hero. Not a hero who saves the world, but one who is the author of their own life, operating from their own internal authority. So the ultimate takeaway from all of this is a fundamental shift in how you see your life. The goal isn't to waste your energy fighting against the normal, boring script that society tries to give you. The goal is to become an architect,
is to treat your life not as a routine you have to put up with, but as a mythic structure that you can consciously and deliberately build, one stage at a time, using a proven blueprint.
And that's really what it all comes down to. This isn't about blind faith or waiting for lightning to strike. It's about a psychotechnological process. The truth is in the repeatable logic of the system he uncovered. Your struggles are not random punishments. They are technical stages on a map. So the final question isn't whether or not you're a hero. The real question is, are you willing to run the code?